So in this video, I just want to talk about the course logistics for this Math 300 course. So for the syllabus, this is the general outline of the course. So the first lecture, I'll just start talking about math beginning. Okay, so this course is going to be entirely online and asynchronous, except for exams which will occur during your scheduled class time, both one midterm and the final exam, which is also scheduled by the university. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Otherwise, everything is asynchronous. So almost everything that you'll be looking for, you should first check for on Canvas. So in the Files tab of Canvas, I will post typed up course notes. I'll post your problem sets there. A PDF version of the syllabus will be there. I'll put lecture slides there. So if you're looking for a file, you look at the Files tab of syllabus. Sorry, the Files tab of Canvas, and the Syllabus tab of Canvas has also all the information on the syllabus. I'm going to record lectures and post them both to Panopto and to YouTube, because some students from the summer told me that they found it easier to watch videos on YouTube. So there's a Panopto tab in Canvas. You can click there, or you can watch on YouTube. I've included a link there. All of our assignments are going to be submitted and graded on Gradescope. So I just made the Gradescope for the class. Once we get about 1 week into the quarter, I'll add everybody, so you should get an email from Gradescope. I found it to be pretty reasonable to figure out how to upload assignments there. So on your first homework assignment, you'll see what that's like. My office hours will be on Zoom, so I haven't yet decided them. Still trying to figure out the schedule for the quarter, but I will put Zoom links here and the time and date here. So if you want to go to my office hours, the easiest thing to do is to click the syllabus. Of course, I'll also send announcements by email. Okay, the textbook for the course is Mathematical Reasoning, Writing and Proof by Ted Sundstrom. So one reason I like this textbook is because it's free. I mean, I think it's a pretty reasonable textbook, but the fact that it's free is also very good. I used this last year in Math 300. So if you just click the link that I put in the syllabus here, you scroll down, you can click here, download a free copy of the textbook, and you see this. You can download the full text or whatever chapter. I would just download the text at the beginning. There's also a PDF from two instructors in this department, Professors Conroy and Taggart, which you can see here, which you can use as a supplemental text if you want, as an example for places to look at proofs. I'm not really going to look at this, but I've looked through it before, and there's lots of nice stuff in here. But we'll cover most of Sundstrom's textbook. Okay, so part of taking a course asynchronously is trying to keep up with lectures and the readings. So implicitly, part of the homework is always to read the section of the textbook that corresponds to the section that we're on. Okay, and learning from a math textbook, it's not the kind of thing where you can just start from line 1 and then read and then close the book and then be done. And so lots of times there's examples that you need to think about or proofs that you'll have to think about. So reading from a math textbook has to be sort of an active activity. It's not just you read all the words. You should actually have to think through everything. So the skill that you're going to want to practice with as you take more math courses. So just assume that anytime I assign homework, you should also have to read that section of the textbook. Okay, so what is the point of this course, right? This course is called Introduction to Mathematical Reasoning. So it's sort of like the first math course for math majors. So you've all taken, I think, the calculus sequence, maybe linear algebra, maybe differential equations, right? So these are all sort of pre-math major math classes, which means that there's a lot of focus on computations, at least initially. When you take later math courses after Math 300, they're not going to be so computationally focused, because mathematics is really about arguments and ideas and definitions and concepts and proofs. So in this class, you're going to learn the basic skills, the fundamental tools that you'll use for the rest of your career in mathematics courses. Okay, so I've just listed some specific things here: logic, set theory, functions, equivalence relations, proof techniques, cardinality, elementary number theory. These tools are so fundamental that you will use them in every math class you take, and probably in every, I mean, if you take computer science classes or economics classes or physics classes, same thing. So as I said, they're also important for understanding and learning modern computer science, economics, and physics. But maybe the most important skill to learn in this class is to think mathematically and to write mathematical proofs. Okay, so mathematical proofs is how mathematics is communicated, and learning to write proofs is not an easy thing. It takes a long time to gain this skill. It's also, I think, particularly hard to learn in an online class. Okay, so if this course were in person, then you could ask questions as I'm writing proofs at the board. I could ask you to do things in class and sort of walk around and see how you're doing. So the fact that this is an online class makes things a bit more difficult. But this means that you're going to have to be sort of extra engaged. Come to my office hours, ask me questions. Those will be on Zoom. Send me emails. I'll try my best to try to teach mathematical proofwriting via an online asynchronous course. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult than usual, I think. Okay, but keep that in mind. We want to learn the fundamental tools of mathematics, maybe more importantly, how to communicate mathematics. Okay, so now the nitty-gritty logistics of the course. Because this is an online course, I'm not going to be doing things like quizzes, which I tend to do in Math 300. Basically, there will be weekly problem sets, a midterm exam, and a final exam. Everything is going to be submitted on Gradescope. So your weekly problem sets are your best chance to try to learn the skills of this course. So you should expect to spend significant time working on, understanding, and writing up your homework problems. This is actually a typo. Your exam scores are actually 75% of your final grade. I'll fix that. And again, the thing to focus on is writing things up as clearly as possible. Okay, so I'll also post some problem set guidelines, which will explain how the homework is going to be graded. But maybe since this is early on in your math major career, it's not as clear, but in every math class, the place where you learn the most mathematics is actually not during lecture or even as you're reading. The place where you learn the most mathematics is by doing the homework problems. So this means that you should try really hard on your homework problems, maybe even before coming to get help, right? So if you try something for 5 minutes, you try one thing and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean that you don't know how to do the problem, right? It just means that you haven't spent enough time trying to work on the problem to have found a way that makes more progress. So you maybe need to try several different things. Maybe you need to talk with your friends about it. Maybe you need to talk with me about it. So I just want to encourage you to spend a lot of time working on your homework. Okay, there's one midterm exam that will be tentatively Friday, November 6th. And the way that's going to work is I will upload it to Gradescope. It will release precisely when the class period starts. You'll have 50 minutes, which is the length of the class period. And then I'll give you an extra 10 minutes to make sure that you can scan, upload to Gradescope. Okay, so I'll talk more about that as we get closer to that. There's also one final exam, of course. Final exam time and date is set by the university. Okay, so if you're in my section B, this is correct, it's Monday, December 14th. If you're in my section C, I'm teaching 2 sections, it's the next day, Tuesday, December 15th, but they're both at 2:30 to 4:20. Okay, so again, that final exam will be uploaded to Gradescope. You can download it at 2:30, and you'll have to submit it by 4:30, right? So this extra 10 minutes for uploading and scanning and getting it onto Gradescope. Okay, so as I said, very simple course breakdown: homework, midterm, final. Okay, if you have accommodations to disability, you should contact the Disability Resources for Student office, the DRS office. And then once I get official notice from them, we can set up accommodations. Same thing with religious accommodations. You just click this thing. Here's just the last bit of course logistics, which is how to get help. Okay, so hopefully you can look to me first when you need help. So I'll have Zoom office hours, as I said. You can always send me an email. I don't stay up super duper late. So if you send me an email super duper late, you probably won't get a response until the next day. But I do check my email regularly. Clue also, so I don't have any experience with the online version of Clue, but their website says that they do online tutoring. So if you are used to using Clue, then perhaps that's a good resource for you. You should also feel free to talk to your classmates about sort of anything, okay? But you just need to follow some specific rules. But working with other people can be very, very productive, or it can be very non-productive depending on how you go about it, right? So having to explain something to somebody can teach it to both people, both the person explaining and the person listening. On the other hand, copying somebody else's solution is extremely non-productive because you haven't learned anything. So I want you to feel free to be able to talk to one another and talk to me, but also the grades that you get should represent your understanding and nobody else's. Okay, so a relatively common-ish set of rules that are often used in math classes for collaboration are called the Gilligan's Island rules. So why are they called the Gilligan's Island rules? You'll see in point 2. So you can discuss problems with one another, even homework problems. But when you're done talking about the problems with your classmate, you can't take any record away of what you talked about. Okay, so you can work on a Zoom whiteboard together and have, right, so you can write things down and talk. But you shouldn't be taking a picture or a screenshot or copying anything down from this meeting. Okay, the point of the meeting is to learn what the other person, learn by talking to the other person. And then it becomes in your head, right? And then you learn it. And then you have to wait 30 minutes after this meeting before you write anything down and work on the problem. Okay, so they're called the Gilligan's Island rules because you can satisfy this requirement by watching an episode of Gilligan's Island or doing something mindless for a half hour. And then just on any homework problem that you collaborated with your classmates, I just want you to write the names of who you collaborated with on the assignment. So just say, on problem 2, I collaborated with Michelle. Right, so you don't lose any credit for that, but it's just a way of keeping yourself honest about how you got help on an assignment, and also a way for me to see who's working together. Right? I want you to work together, but I want to make sure that it's a productive thing and not a counterproductive thing. Okay, and last, I always try to give some friendly advice at the end of my syllabi. This is true in every math class, maybe every class. Every class can be really frustrating and sad and stressful if you're lost and confused. On the other hand, if you stay on top of your assignments, stay on top of your reading, and you sort of understand what's happening in lecture, it can be really fun because you're learning a lot of new stuff. So you want to try to be in that second situation, not the first. Okay. And especially during an online quarter, it's really easy to just be like, oh, I'll watch the lecture later, and then fall behind a little bit. So I want to encourage you to try to really hard to stay on top of what you're doing. Okay. If there's something you're confused about, you should try to figure it out as soon as possible. You should send me an email immediately if you're confused about something. And that way we can figure it out right when it's happening, and not 3 weeks later where you realize that you don't understand anything that happened in the last 3 weeks. Okay, also, I would suggest reading ahead a little bit in the textbook before lecture. I would especially suggest this during the school year when you have actual in-person classes. But you'd be really surprised when you read ahead a little bit how much nicer lecture becomes, because you're sort of learning things for a second time, or you've at least seen the words before, but things aren't brand new. And then you're able to see the big picture a little bit better because you're not focused on tiny details that are confusing you. So I will admit that when I was undergraduate, I never did that. But then when I got to graduate school and suddenly the math got a lot harder, I started doing that, and I realized, oh, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? So that would be my suggestion to you. Okay, so the next video that I'll post on Panopto and on YouTube will just immediately jump into the mathematics. Maybe what I haven't mentioned is this quarter can be a lot of fun. Okay, so I was obviously a math major. I think you have to be a math major to enroll in this course. And this is like this intro to proof, intro to mathematical reasoning course is oftentimes the first course where you're like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I like. This is like the way that I like to think, right? So for a lot of students majoring in math, this is like a really fun course because you get to use your mathematical thinking abilities that made you want to major in math to begin with. Okay, so looking forward to the quarter, and hopefully I'll see you in office hours. Please come to my office hours. When I taught my summer course, I got like maybe 3 students per office hour in office hours, and those are the students that I got to know the best, and I think learned the most. So don't be afraid to come to my office hours. I'll post the Zoom links as soon as I've decided when they are.